is a famous quote in history by Anatole France that says, "Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened." As many of you know, the love that an animal brings into our lives changes us forever. Throughout the filming of this series, a very special cat called Pisa has graced the lives of holistic vets, and all who came to know her fell in love with her. Pisa became a celebrity cat around the clinic, having spent 5 long weeks with holistic vets as Dr. Lisa and her team tried all they could to help Pisa with everything from acupuncture to hyperbaric oxygen therapy to flood her cells with oxygen. But sadly, the extent of her injuries were too severe and her quality of life was beginning to be compromised. We are sorry to let you know that our beautiful Pisa lost the battle in the end.
Pisa was such a special cat, and we walked such an interesting road with her. Every day was the question of, are we doing her any service by keeping going? But there was always a glimpse of hope and always a chance that we could pull her through, and it's only been in the last week that it's become obvious that putting her to sleep was the definite and most kind thing to do. So she's taught us a lot, and at the end of the day you can't win a war, even though with many other cases we get some fabulous results. It just wasn't meant to be. And Kitty Heaven no doubt has another real little character sitting on her throne and polishing her halo.
With a very cool name like Bertie, this cat is a real character. He's come in today because he's been off his food and hasn't been quite his perky self.
Something like that. My guess is either he's fallen and bruised himself, or there might be some spray around the place making him feel a little bit nauseous.
After a thorough examination, Dr. Lisa concludes that he's likely to have hurt himself, but to be sure, he's admitted to hospital for the day to monitor his progress after being given some medication.
Good boy! What a good boy. He's such a lovely cat.
Dr. Lisa heads out to grab a quick bite to eat for lunch and tells us one of her ever-inspiring stories along the way.
One time, I was driving back from Auckland after a trip to Australia, and unfortunately this little bird swooped down in front of me, and at the speed I was going I hit it and I knew that it wouldn't have survived. A little later on the journey, I pulled over to the side of the road to get some fruit and veggies, and much to my horror, I saw that this poor little bird was wedged between the grills. Of course it was dead, so I decided that I'd just get it out from there, and I put it in my empty pie bag, planning to bury it when I got back home. But my first stop in Tauranga was to check on one of our volunteers who was looking after a moorpork at the time. And we decided that perhaps it would be useful to give the moorpork, the little bird, as food, because that's what they eat naturally out in the wild, and this little bird would serve a purpose, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. So we did that, and the moorpork had a really good meal, and although it's not what I intended to do to bury the bird peacefully, at least it was just completing nature's cycle.
Aw, way to go, Dr. Lisa. Join us back after the break. Dr. Lisa has some helpful hints for you, and Archangel Super Sue has some seagulls needing her help. Now fresh, 100% grain-free natural pet food for dogs and cats. Brought to you by healthypetfoods.co.nz for a healthier, happier pet. Are you worried about the claws on the paws of your furry friend? Dr. Lisa has some helpful hints for you.
And a helpful hint this week is how to trim your dog or cat's nails. Trimming nails can be a really important aspect of maintaining their health care. A lot of dogs and cats are really good at wearing their nails down, but some of them aren't, and especially as they age and they become less active, their nails have the potential to grow very long, and sometimes they grow so long they can actually curl around and embed in their flesh, which is extremely sore. But a lot of dogs and cats, as they age, they get sore joints and they're a little bit arthritic, and those long nails actually change their posture and can make them really uncomfortable. So to trim their nails, it's not too hard to do with dogs that have got white nails and cats that have got white nails, because you can see what we call is the quick. So I'm not the best artist in town, but this is how it looks. That's a nail, and in there, of a white nail, you can see that's a nice pink bit. And that pink bit is fleshy and it's got nerve supply, so if you were to cut into that, that can hurt. But when you trim their nails and you cut a line through there, trimming that end bit off takes off the sharp bit, takes off the excess length, and makes them a lot more comfortable.
Nails to feathers now. The Archangel Super Sue is always at work with one or other of our feathered friends. We seldom see her tearing through the door without a mystery box or bird in her hands. Today, it's our famous seagull friends, in trouble yet again. By the way, here's a few facts you may not have known about the amazing seagull. Seagulls are monogamous creatures that mate for life and rarely divorce. They have a strong social structure that works very effectively against predators, and will even gang up on the intruder in their hundreds to drive them away. As parents, seagulls are attentive and caring, with both involved in incubating the eggs as well as feeding and protecting the chicks until they fledge. How awesome are seagulls? Except for when they steal your fish and chips at the beach. Then they're not great. Wow, those seagulls are clever creatures. Meet Frisky. Frisky has had a lump on his foot for the last few weeks, and his owners are concerned that it may be worrying him. Being a young and fit dog, it's unlikely to be anything ominous, but Dr. Lisa sends a sample off to the lab to check it out.
Hey Dennis and Dawn, I've got great news for you. We've got a result from Frisky's labs, and it shows up that the lump on his foot is nothing to worry about. In fact, it's pretty much on its way to resolution. So hopefully he'll be as good as gold really soon, and if you guys need absolutely anything, don't hesitate to ring. Have a good evening, and pets to those lovely dogs. Bye! Oh, it's so nice to get out of the clinic and have a little bit of time out and appreciate the beauty in the bay. Tauranga is such an amazing place to live. There's such a diversity of landscapes and great people. So many people who are so committed to the care of their animals and the environment. And I just love the different environments that we have in terms of natural habitat, because we've got the beach and the seabirds that come in, your seagulls and oyster catchers, and of course the occasional good shag. Then we've got our forest birds like the kereroo or wood pigeon and moorhawks and the harrier hawks that come in too, and the garden birds like tuis and wax eyes. It makes for very enjoyable work. And of course, setting up my own business, building holistic vets out of the boot of my car, it's been a long, hard road. It's one thing being a decent vet, but it's a whole nother thing running your own business. You have to learn to do all sorts of things like the paperwork and the accounts and employing staff, and it gets a bit much and you have to put in long, hard hours. At one stage, I figured I'd set up something like Workaholics Anonymous, but I figured that all us workaholics would probably be working so hard we'd never make it to meetings. Oyster catchers are such beautiful birds. They've got such character, and one of our many native species we have here in New Zealand. Years ago, I was treating a dog called Fubu. She was completely paralyzed, having run into a bank, knocking herself unconscious because she was chasing possums at a really high speed. And we put Fubu in the hyperbaric chamber to help her to heal, and Fubu made a remarkable recovery. But while she was being treated, I had an oyster catcher brought into me with a broken leg. So he splintered his leg and bandaged it up, and I put him in the hyperbaric chamber with Fubu to take advantage of the oxygen therapy because it's so good at helping bones to knit. And lo and behold, literally overnight, his fracture healed and knitted. And the oyster catcher went on to make a full recovery, and he was rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
Phew! What a full-on day for Dr. Lisa. How does she keep going? It's no wonder she recently won the Kiwibank Hero Award amongst all of the other great achievements in her quest to make a difference in this world. It makes you wonder, where did this amazing journey all start for Dr. Lisa? We'll find out right after the break as Dr. Lisa shares her heart-to-heart stories with us.
I love what I do. I love making a difference in the lives of the animals that I meet every day and the lives of the people who care for them, and just helping people to understand that ultimately we need to create a sustainable environment, work with conservation principles and respect life.
Go! Energy-packed natural food for dogs and cats. Brought to you by healthypetfoods.co.nz for a healthier, happier pet. So, where exactly did it all start for our Dr. Lisa? Well, believe it or not, when Dr. Lisa first came to New Zealand from South Africa, she actually started her clinic out of the boot of her car.
My love for animals started when I was a really young child. My dad was involved with a lot of conservation and environmental work back in South Africa. And in South Africa, we've got a massive range and diversity of animals, and I had a huge amount of pets growing up. I had a tortoise and a goose and snakes and a monkey and dogs and cats and birds. And that was just so awesome to be able to have them so nearby and interact with them and be involved with rehabilitation of baby hippopotamuses and rhinoceroses and that sort of thing. But working with these animals, I quickly learned that when they became sick, it frustrated and concerned me that I didn't know what to do about it. So I knew growing up that I wanted to work with animals, and my first step would be that I'd have to learn to help them heal. So being a vet was the next step, and I haven't looked back. I love what I do. I love making a difference in the lives of the animals that I meet every day and the lives of the people who care for them. and just helping people to understand that ultimately we need to create a sustainable environment, work with conservation principles and respect life.
It takes a strong, passionate and dedicated individual who lives their life with a deeper purpose to cope with all that a vet has to deal with, especially with an innate need and want to save the lives of animals, when sometimes the difficult decisions have to be made to alleviate suffering. How does Dr. Lisa cope, and what keeps driving her forward undaunted about her journey as a vet? The reality is, for people like Dr. Lisa, when their path is full of passion, they cannot and will not surrender. Even when Dr. Lisa's mum came out from South Africa to visit one time, and they spent some precious time together catching up with a nice relaxing walk along the beach, do you think Dr. Lisa could not notice a small creature needing her help? And what about the future for Dr. Lisa? What are her thoughts when it comes to her vision for the future? Wherever it is from here that the journey leads for our legendary Dr. Lisa and her awesome team, something tells me they will stop at nothing in their quest to make a difference in the lives of animals. Whether it's a hawk with a broken wing, an orphan kitten needing some love, a dog, a cat, a horse, a deer, or farm animals needing some help and attention, the savvy vet and her amazing team will continue to be proactive and change the world by making all the difference to the lives of animals in the Bay and in this fantastic country. Thank you for joining us for Mad Vets 24/7. If you'd like to make a difference to the lives of animals and show your support for the series, we'd love to hear from you. Please join our Mad Vets Facebook page.
Oh, Tom, oh, bugger. Doll, she's peeing and he's spraying stuff all over the ground. Doll. Well done. Oops, oh no, he's put the lovely little red bag.
Oh, my leg's gone very warm.
Yes, very warm. Oh, the little baby.
Good God, look at
Very warm.
the joys of keeping birds.
Hazardous.
You ready for the box?
Oh no, Spade's tray.
No. I'm allergic to brown boxes that you bring me. What's in it?
Thank you very much for letting us come. It's a big privilege and we absolutely loved it.
You're welcome.
This series has been brought to you by ARRC Wildlife Trust and Bush Forbes Barristers and Solicitors, caring about the health of our animals and our environment. And by Healthy Pet Foods and Pet Curian. Good nutrition for a healthier, happier pet.